What is going on, everybody? We are the Lions, and this is the Sixers Hawks Game 2 pregame show. The Sixers are down in this series 0-1 to the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young and his team shooting the shit out of the ball last game. So let's see if they can get it done this game. I'm with my boy at Mr. Crockpot, also known as Dibes, and Chris, and whatever you want to call him. He's Dibes to me. What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing well, man. We got a big one tonight. Do or die, essentially. I think the Hawks won like 23 or 24 games or something at home. And then after this, they head to 2 straight in Atlanta. This is a must-win for the Philadelphia 76ers. We're going to have a good time tonight.
No, I definitely agree, and it should be a lot of fun. We still got to see if Joel Embiid's going to play. So from the reports that I've seen, as of right now, game time is in 30 minutes. About that, I have not seen anything yet about him playing or not. I think he is still questionable at the moment. So we're gonna have to see what happens. Do you think the Sixers can win this game tonight without Embiid?
No, they absolutely 100% need Joel Embiid, especially defending the pick and roll, which we'll get to in a little bit. The Philadelphia 76ers 100% need Joel Embiid as that rim protector to be able to hedge, to be able to drop back, to be able to prevent Trae Young and everyone else from getting into that middle of the lane in that pick and roll, which we saw to death in that first half. It took them until finally the second half to start finally getting Trae Young away from the middle of the court where he's so successful. They started to ice him. They started to drop back a little bit more and trap him. They mixed rotations. That's what we need to see for a full 4 quarters. If we see that, then we're going to be in good shape. But you need Joel, absolutely need Joel to run that efficiently.
And speaking of Joel and the just NBA in general, the NBA MVP award was released today, and it is Nikola Jokic, which I don't think comes as a surprise to anyone. I don't even know. Meta, maybe he's trying to say here. The 2021 Attendance Award, the Availability Award, people are calling it this year because everyone who has watched basketball, I think, or most people have watched basketball. Obviously, no slight on Nikola Jokic. He has played insanely well this year. Even when Jamal Murray went down, still held his team above water. But Joel Embiid, even Drew Hanlon, who is one of the best basketball trainers in the league, who trains Joel, was like, dude, this guy, easily the best player in the NBA this year. So what you going to do? But do you have any reaction to that MVP award going to Jokic?
Just that we can all say a prayer for Clint Capella because Joel has one prediction for tonight, and it's to steal what's his name, Mr. T from Rocky 3. He's got one prediction: pain, because Joel Embiid's coming for Clint Capella 100%. He's coming. We were joking in the chat like Joel Embiid's going to make a statement tonight. I am 100% confident about that.
Yeah, I love this comment right here. Brandon says TNT 7:30 starts.
I know, right?
Tip off at 8:15.
It's the worst,
dude.
Man.
That's the worst thing about nationally televised games is rather than just them on NBC Philly, they always start late. You can count on it. It turns into baseball.
Right.
No, but so what are your biggest keys to the game? I know you were talking about the Sixers needing to take away Trae Young and his be better on pick and roll defense, be better on just regular on ball defense in general. Danny Green obviously struggled a lot last game against Trae Young. From the reports so far, it seems like Doc Rivers is saying he plans on throwing the same starting lineup out there tonight. Okay. I know we on the Painted Lines did talk about the possibility of maybe sliding Matisse Thybulle into the starting lineup instead of Danny Green. So what are your thoughts about I shouldn't say keys of the game yet. What are your thoughts about Doc Rivers saying that he wants to keep the starting lineup the same as of now?
It is definitely an interesting call. I mean, it makes sense given how effective and how successful the Sixers were all season long. Like, you can't just take – I hear you, Justin, and I definitely hear you. But, like, the overall take is there's so much data to provide. When the Sixers starters are playing together and healthy, they're nearly unstoppable. Even as terrible as Game 1 was, they still had a 131 offensive rating, the starters, in this game. They had a 16 net rating together. For me, it makes sense. it all for like when we kind of then talk about the keys of the game, the bench 100% has to play better. The Dwight Howard, the Tyrese Maxey, the Matisse Thybulle, and the George Hill lineup was a net of negative 56.3, which is god awful. And that can happen. There was a stretch in between with 2 minutes remaining in that first quarter to 10 minutes remaining in that second quarter where they had nothing. Like it was just turnover. And that was really kind of the floodgates opening for the Atlanta Hawks where they pushed their lead to 20 points. The bench 100% has to get better. Doc needs to tighten up his rotations. I thought that was like the one thing that we learned in the first series was that Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle should be playing more. And what we had, I think Matisse played 18 minutes. Tyrese Maxey barely played. Trae Young on the other end had 4 field goal attempts against him. They did a terrible job until the second half where they finally made Trae Young work offensively. They forced him to the baseline. They made him, settle for pull-up jump shots where he finished 1 for 7 in pull-ups and then 3 for 10 from the field. That's bogus. That is an embarrassment, and it's shocking. It is dumbfounding considering Doc has done so well this year, noticing that this guy ain't got it tonight and making the quick trigger pull and getting him off the court. It didn't happen in game 1, especially in that first half. So it's got to be a better bench production. You got to have Matisse and Ben hounding Trae Young. Here are the updated stats. Trae Young career numbers when defended by Ben Simmons: 42.8 possessions, only 8 points. Justin, 3 of 16 from the floor, 1 of 7 from 3. Matisse Thybulle, 37 possessions, 31 points, 10 of 19. But you saw how effective the Sixers were in that second half. It's just still, like I said, dumbfounding that we headed into a 7-game series, playoff basketball, and I know Doc wanted to kind of keep Ben away from being in foul trouble. I get it, but this is a 7-game series. This is, like I said in the postgame, this is not October basketball. Put your best defender on their best offensive player, period. It's not brain surgery. Get it done, Doc. That's it. I think there's no freaking possible way the Atlanta Hawks shoot that well from 3-point range. So overall, Sixers got to be more efficient on offense. They got to be more efficient on defense. They just got to be smarter. They got to cut down the turnovers. 13 turnovers in the first half. It literally took them out of the game. It dug them into a hole. It was too much to overcome. Bad coaching, dumb play. They can't do that in a full first half. It's got to be a full 4-quarter of good Sixers basketball that we've seen the last 2 months.
Yeah, and I know you were saying the efficiency and the turnovers, and a lot of that happens when you don't have a guy in the starting lineup at times, but it's looking like tonight we're going to have the big man in the starting lineup. Joel Embiid is slated to play at the moment. Being reported by Keith Pompey, Joel Embiid will play and start tonight versus the Hawks. Also, another other news that is good on the Sixers' behalf is DeAndre Hunter is listed as out tonight officially. So that is one of the Atlanta Hawks' best perimeter defenders and probably one of the scariest chasers on that team and guys who can actually lock you up if they really want to do so to you. So definitely good news, all good news so far going into tonight's matchup, and specifically what you were saying about the efficiency of the starting lineup and how typically over this year, when the starting lineup is there, the efficiency is insane. Mostly because you have a guy in Joel Embiid who's 7 foot tall, shooting 60% in the mid-range damn there, and getting to the line at will. And then you just have 40-plus percentage shooters around him. So tonight, do you think the game plan changes any bit offensively, being with the amount of turnovers that were happening in game 1? Or do you think the turnovers were just lazy passes and just just bad play in general? Do you think something actually has to change?
No. Considering like how great they were in that first series, I don't think anything is going to change. 100%, the Atlanta Hawks have a lot more length. They have a lot more athleticism than the Washington Wizards. No one's debating that. But I think you're going to see a lot of the same things. I want to see the Sixers attack Trae Young more. I want to see the Sixers expose the Hawks and get more mismatches on offense. You look at Tobias Harris, 14.4 combined possessions on Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Kevin Huerter. He was 3 of 3 from the field. I want more of that. Like, I want the Sixers, if we're going to get rolled to death in the pick and roll game, and we're just that, if this is what it's going to be, you look at the Atlanta Hawks here. They run the second most pick and roll in the league, 79th percentile, 1.01 points per possession. They crush that. Let's do that too. The Sixers don't run it as much as Atlanta, but they're just as efficient. I want to see Tobias Harris locked in. Let's rotate guys. Let's get Toby on Kevin Huerter. Let's get Toby on Bogdan Bogdanovic. Let's get him down in the post. Let's get those guys in foul trouble. Let's get points in the paint. Let's get to the free throw line. That's Sixers basketball. We did some of that in game one, but I just want to see more of that. And Toby, he's got to have a huge game today.
Yeah, I agree. And anytime Tobias Harris goes off or even has a decent game offensively, the Sixers play exponentially better just based off the spacing at that 4 spot and the bench minutes that he usually has overlapped with at times this season, that he just brings a lot to the table for this team and is definitely worth that contract that he was given 2 years ago now. So do you have any general thoughts about any more general thoughts about this game?
No, let's punch him in the mouth, man. The way they came out in that first quarter was straight embarrassing. The way they came out in the third quarter was straight up embarrassing. The Sixers had an opportunity to really, capitalize on the Hawks in that third quarter, which I thought was how they lost game one. I think the Hawks shot 3 of 11 from 3. The Sixers shot 1 of 6 from 3, and they had 5 turnovers. There was an opportunity there, a common theme of game one for the Philadelphia 76ers. They missed every single opportunity. The Sixers need to seize momentum finally in game two. They weren't able to do that at all in game one. A lot of timely shots made by Bogdanovic, Huerter, just constant daggers when the Sixers were trying to make a run and get back into this game. We have Matt McGinnis saying, drinking 100 Coronas. Cheers, brother. Anyway,
goodness, Matt.
I already touched on it. You got to limit turnovers. You got to play smart Sixers basketball, all that kind of stuff. Let's look like we're prepared and ready for Trae Young in that pick and roll offense. If they do that, I'm really confident. So we'll see.
Yeah, my biggest thing last game was it just seemed like they just started slow. Defensively and offensively, it seemed like the passes were slow. It seemed like laterally Danny Green was obviously Danny Green is not as fast as Trae Young, not even close. But just laterally, it seemed like we just were not moving well. So I'm hoping tonight that is the difference to me. That is the main difference to me. The energy levels that Atlanta came out with in game one in comparison to the Sixers.
Go, Ben, go. Absolutely, just attack. Here's a poll we did on our community tab. What's your mental health status for tonight's game, guys? Let us know in the comments. Are you nervous AF? Are you somewhat nervous? Are you somewhat excited? Are you hyped? Where are you at on that scale, Justin? Oh, you're muted, bro.
Sorry, I had to sneeze. I think I'm kind of somewhat nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm hyped for the fact that Joel – I actually did answer this poll earlier today. I am somewhat nervous for this game just to see how they come out. I'm anytime Joel Embiid steps on the court now with this injury, I am already nervous. Already before this injury, every time Joel Embiid hits the floor, you get nervous. But now it's the fact that he already has the injury, and good and well he is going to hit the floor at some point in this game. Or leave the floor in general where he jumps up high because he's athletic as heck. I'm nervous for that. I'm not as nervous in the sense where obviously Atlanta just went off last game. The Sixers gave up, 128 points last game in game one? Yeah. They, on average this season, were giving up 108.1 or something like that. I'm gonna go with how average, like the average of the Sixers and how good they have been defensively and offensively, and the turnover percentages. I'm sure, like Dabs was saying prior and in past videos, that the Sixers turnover percentage was insanity this game or last game, and also defensively giving up 128 points is completely and utterly not usual for this team. I didn't even realize how low the average on the season actually was. When I saw it was 108, I was like, damn, they're good. Because I was like, and my first thought was, how many times do I see a team score above 115 on the Sixers? But I'm like, how many times do you actually see them score above 100 now, 108? Like, it's not often. So I think I'm going to go with the trends, and to me, it's trends that the Sixers are going to kick ass tonight.
Love it. Yeah, I'm in that somewhat excited range, but I'm not gonna lie, man. Like the last couple of days, I'm like Dwight Howard's play. Like I'm nervous as fuck. I'm hyped. Like I'm all over the place. I can't help it. I'm all over the place. This is like Eagles season all over again. That's what the last post game felt like. Game 1 post game just felt it was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. It was like a therapeutic session to help me vent. Hopefully we're not doing that for game 2's post-game show. Hopefully we're celebrating a little bit. But I would say I'm somewhat excited. You saw Doc, play Dwight Howard 2 minutes in the second half. That's what I'm talking about. Doc Rivers rotations have to tighten. We need to ice Trae Young. We need to trap him. We need to mix rotations a lot more on Trae Young. If we come out prepared like that, and it's just dumbfounding that we weren't, because you saw it again and again. The Sixers are typically prepared and well coached, top to bottom. But here we are in game 2, and Doc has to get it done tonight. We could talk about Joel Embiid's knee. We can talk about Ben being aggressive and hitting free throws. But really, Doc needs to coach his ass off in this game and not take the night off. So
another big thing that has been a conversation on Twitter over the past, over the past 2 series for the Sixers, it feels like, has been this conversation: the NBA refs. So, you guys, are any concern with the refs for tonight's game? Here's the refs for tonight's game. You got the famous guy, it seems like, this season, who has consistently gotten the nerves of a lot of different fan bases, and that is Tony Brothers. Tony Brothers has been a big name going around. Scott Foster is always a guy as well. But what are your thoughts on tonight's game with the refs?
Yeah, I hear you, bro. Like, I can't go there. I cannot, for the life of me, go there, because I understand that, like, it's been bad. It has been bad both ways. Guys are flopping. We saw it from Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook flopping every single possession.
Trae Young is the worst with that, in my opinion.
We saw it with the Hawks in game 1. It's all the time. And if this is the standard, then I need to see my guys, my Sixers, doing the same thing and selling out and selling it better, because clearly the Hawks are doing it better. But I don't want to get into that too much, because when you have as many turnovers, 19 in game 1, when you're missing wide open 3-pointer after wide open 3-pointer, that's not on the refs, bro. That is 100% on the Sixers for shooting themselves in the foot and not getting the job done offensively or defensively. Let's be honest. They only played a half of a game defensively in game 1. So as much as I want to get into that, refereeing thing, and it's real, it's 100% real. It's been bad, especially that Washington Wizards series. It's like near the bottom of the issues for the Philadelphia 76ers so far.
The only thing I can get concerned with the refs is defensively. It's not as much offensively for us. It's more like, right. It's not, to me, it's not as much with the Sixers not getting calls. For me, it's more with Ben Simmons getting a lot of calls on him when he's been playing this exact same way all season. And typically when the playoffs come around, people are allowed to get even more aggressive. Like, typically when the playoffs get around, you see guys like Kawhi, you see guys like Paul George, guys like Marcus Smart, Ben Simmons now, or Drew Holiday even as well, who are able to, when they're on ball, really put their hands on people a lot more often, because it's more physical basketball. And it doesn't seem that Ben Simmons has been given any bit of leeway with that whatsoever. And so that's my only concern because he gets a lot of cheap fouls. He's been getting a lot more cheap fouls on him than in these two playoff series than he really did all season at times. So that's my only concern, being that he is a star on this team, and that is probably his second best quality as a player is his defense. So it's like that concerns me.
You look at the Atlanta Hawks, they were 29th in forcing turnovers, 12.4% this regular season. They weren't much better against the New York Knicks, 12.4%. Like it was right around the same average. I look at the Sixers shot themselves in the foot more so than considering all these turnovers from the Philadelphia 76ers. They just looked sluggish. They looked not prepared. They didn't know what they were getting themselves into here in regards to the Hawks' length. You look at, I can't get that image of Danny Green and Tobias Harris being like literally a step behind Trae Young every single possession. Just drop back, just hedge, just trap him. Just there's a lot of ways you can overcome that, and they did it in the second half. I just cannot believe what we saw there in that first half of a Sixers team that prides itself on defense and looked that unprepared. It was just so bizarre. We've been hearing it. Man, we've been hearing it by these Atlanta Hawks fans on this channel. They have been everywhere, from the comments on our videos to the live streams. It's been a lot of fun. I give the Atlanta Hawks fans some props here. Just cool it on the confidence a little bit. It's only one game.
Yeah, and I actually I was watching the Daily Dose the other day while you were on it with Daily Dose with Dylan Davis. If you don't know what that is, go check that out. It's a almost daily live show that Dylan Davis runs on the Painted Lines. It's great. Go check it out.
Yes.
But Dibes himself was on that the other day, and they had a Hawks fan in there talking about wanting to wager whether or not the Hawks or the Sixers were going to win in game 2. And my first thought was, with the Hawks fans, like, confidence is like, I understand your team's on a hot streak right now. You just beat the New York Knicks. You just 4-1 them after losing in the first game. I get it. But one, the Sixers aren't the New York Knicks. They are much better than the New York Knicks. 2, I just have this feeling that the Atlanta Hawks fans are going to be just like the New York Knicks were in the beginning of that series, where they were like, "Oh, we want Brooklyn. Oh, we're gonna win. We're gonna win. This is our series to take. We want Philly. We want Brooklyn. We want all this." I feel like the Hawks are gonna puff out their chest. Then they're either gonna lose 4 straight games or something. Like, I don't know, but I just feel like the amount of it's not like they won this game last game convincingly.
Yeah.
They had realistically, they had 2 good quarters. The next 2, the Sixers either were even with them or better than them, and were able to climb back from it. What was the lead again? It was 20-something points.
It was
almost
27
30
points, and they outscored them 70-54, I think, in the second half.
Yeah, so my point is if you're I'm confident in a team when you're playing your best basketball at the end of games. That's personally for me with the Sixers. The Sixers for a long time in previous seasons were a good team, but couldn't get it done at the end of the game. Now they can get it done throughout the whole game, it seems like. And obviously there was a lot of hiccups in the beginning of the last game where I think the Sixers easily win that game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand the amount of confidence, because it's not like Atlanta it's not like Atlanta is beat the Sixers in game 1 like the Nets have beat the Bucks in the first 2 games of their series. You know what I mean? So it's like then I'd be puffing my chest out in their case, beating people by 40 or 30 points. But
to be fair, that's they have been hurt, a good chunk of this season. They're finally getting healthy. They're a good team. They definitely have definitely put pressure on the Sixers starters. That's the Achilles weakness of the Sixers. It's felt like for a billion years, but realistically, at least a few years of stopping the pick and roll defensively. They have it. They have shooters. They have length. They have athleticism. They're deep. Clint Capella only had 10 boards You got to expect that to go up. So they're a deep team, but you just got to think, like we've seen the Sixers again and again and again this season, when they need to make a call, when they need to respond, it's Tobias Harris, it's Ben Simmons. Someone always steps up, and this is the time. This is absolutely the time. This is a must-win for the Philadelphia 76ers. And if we're going to pick player of the game, I'm going Tobias Harris. I think he had only 20 points. He had a really good second half. He's been making a lot of good, solid passes and finding guys in good spots. But I need to see Tobias Harris light it up tonight. That's my guy. I'm going to go with. And what about you, man? What's your player of the game?
You know what? I think Danny Green's going to come back with a vengeance tonight.
Let's go.
And Danny Green all season has been that, though. He'll have a bad game, and the next game come back, and he'll have a really good shooting game. And he's honestly, I think he's always been good defensively. I just don't think this certain player that Doc had him on in the beginning of last game, he doesn't match up well with him. It's as simple as that. Danny Green is a 6'4", 6'5" guy who used to be pretty athletic, is not as athletic as he used to be, is definitely a step slower than he was early in his career with the Spurs. But I do think offensively he steps up today because I think he's going to get a lot of open looks with Embiid because Embiid is going to get pressured a lot after scoring an efficient 39 points in game one. Embiid's going to get a lot more pressure and a lot more hard looks, so that's going to keep passing lanes open for guys like Curry and Green, and I think Green is going to step up.
So you look at Danny Green's playoff made three so far this season. He made three in game one. He had a dud in game two with one. He had an amazing 5 in game 3. This is the Wizards series. Then he hit 3 in game 4. Then he hit 1 in game 5. Then he hit 0 here. He's due for at least 4 or 5 3-pointers tonight if you're following that pattern.
Yeah, he says Embiid breaks his playoff record again tonight, drops 45. I mean, listen.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be honest. I really hope that Embiid does not need to drop 45 tonight. I want him – listen, I want another series where he doesn't have to play the fourth quarter. That's what I want.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That would be nice. I like that a lot.
Yeah, DE4 says, my player of the game is Matisse Thybulle. That's a good player to pick. Love that guy. Got Capella plays less than 20 minutes due to Embiid stepping in a locker. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, that's just about any team in the NBA where they're starting center. Look what happened to Alex Len, Robin Lopez, Daniel Gafford last series.
This is it.
Ugly.
I like Ben's comment here where he says Simmons and Harris need to play 40-plus minutes to secure the win. I don't want to see no goddamn hockey ship at all anymore, man. Doc's got to read the game. He's got to be able to see, who's playing well. I'm tired of the hockey shift, man. That is just such a bogus move, at least in my opinion. Put in Tyrese Maxey. If you see Trae Young, getting a breather on the court or something, put in Tyrese Maxey and get him running a little bit. That. There's got to be a better feel from Doc in this series. He's got to be able to attack Trae Young. Like I said earlier, only 4 field goal attempts in Trae Young. Atlanta did such a good job of hiding him on defense. They need to expose that way better in game 2.
Yeah, I actually have a thought about the Tyrese Maxey and Trae Young thing where you were saying when Trae Young comes off, put Tyrese on. I actually want to see a decent amount of minutes tonight with Tyrese on Trae Young. I'm very interested to see that. Tyrese has shown all season that he has pretty good lateral movement on perimeter. He also has a pretty decent wingspan for his size. So I think he could definitely get in Trae Young's face and get some good contests on him. I also think that Tyrese can put a lot of pressure on Trae Young on the other end and pick and roll. I think that could be a really interesting. Now, like you said, they need to be able to either isolate, get the ball to where Trae Young is and isolate, or try to get him involved on defense as much as possible, because the more you tire him out, the better outcome you're probably going to have on what his box score looks like at the end of the game. what do we got here? Anthony Hurst says, "How about some small ball with Ben at the 5 to limit Howard? Can't risk this game." Yeah, I think you'll definitely see some of that. You've seen some of that most of the playoffs so far, especially when Embiid went down. But I do think since Tyrese Maxey has been getting more minutes, I think Maxey does play well with Howard, especially when they're doing the pick and roll type of things. I think it's more staggering when Matisse and Ben play with Dwight Howard is more my concern.
But I do like the idea of Ben playing small ball 5 and the pick and roll between Tyrese and Ben. If you could run that, I am
defensively that scares me.
Yeah, 100%. You're gonna. That's the whole thing. But they were able to kind of get away with it in Game 5 versus Washington.
Yeah.
I'd much rather run with that. From everything I saw from Dwight Howard in Game 1, he just did not look like he could, keep up with this Atlanta Hawks team.
Yeah, my only concern when it comes to that is because Atlanta does have better 3-point shooting than the Wizards had when it comes to having more consistent 3-point shooters than the Wizards. It's kind of tough to have one of your best perimeter defenders down at the playing the 5 at that point. So that's my only thought about that. But I don't disagree. I think in theory, it sounds awesome having Ben Simmons run the 5 with rolling to the basket with Tyrese. Yeah. But just when it comes to defensively, when I think of that, it scares me a little bit.
Yes. Anthony says, Green just can't be sitting there in the corner so Trae Young can rest. 4 freaking field goal attempts on Trae Young. The dude was just camping and cooking s'mores in the corner there in Game 1 defensively. That cannot happen, man.
That's not Danny Green's fault. That's Doc Rivers not adjusting as soon as he should have.
Dude,
and that's gonna come in this game. I really believe.
One of my favorite memories of the first series was Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle against Bradley Beal. You saw it from Game 1. Did you not remember me saying during the post-game show, you saw it from Game 1 in that third quarter, Matisse Thybulle hounding Bradley Beal, and you saw him sucking wind at the free throw line in that third quarter. Matisse Thybulle, Trae Young had a freebie in that first half. That cannot happen. When you've got a guy that's so ball dominant like that, you got to be chasing him and vice versa for an entire 4 quarters. And they just kind of gave what's the collect go straight to go, collect $200 to Trae Young. It was way too easy Game 1 for Trae Young. It's absurd. And what is so mind baffling is that Bradley Beal shot I'm making this up. No, I'm not making it up. I have the stats. I don't feel like looking it up. But in total, 4 or 5 out of 20 from 3 versus Ben and Matisse in round 1 and 35% from the field against those two. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know what Doc Rivers was doing in between the break of these 2 series. It makes no sense. Let's go Sixers. Come on, Doc. You're better than that.
Yeah, I agree. It looked way too easy. And I will say, you could say that he adjusted going into the next part of the game. Trae obviously shot a lot worse, but I will say I think it's a little bit harder to compare this series to the Wizards series in the sense of Bradley Beal, because obviously Bradley Beal is a dominant guard as well. I feel Trae Young's vision is so much better when it comes to getting throwing the ball around the court. Yeah. You saw that a lot in the first quarter of their game, because even when Trae Young got pressured at times by double teams or by help coming over from the corners, he was able to get the ball out to 40% plus 3-point shooters at all times, it seemed like, whether it be Bogdanovich or Herter or even Collins most at times. So it's kind of picking your poison. I felt like there was no picking your poison last game because it seemed like everyone was hitting shots. So
no, the Hawks played great. No one, my goodness, like we said earlier in the show, they hit so many timely shots right when the Sixers were on the cusp. For me personally, I do think the Sixers, hurt themselves way more than the Atlanta Hawks played well. I think If the Sixers were actually awake for 4 quarters in this game, they would have truly won. So that's what I'm expecting tonight. There's no way the Sixers come out that sluggish in game 2.
Yeah. So guys, listen, we're gonna get out of here. I don't have the TV in front of me right now, but I know the game is slated to start at 7:30. Hopefully, it actually is going to start soon because I doubt it has started yet. But guys, we appreciate you coming and joining us for the pregame show. Please drop a like if you want to see more pregame shows throughout the playoffs. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Subscribe to the channel if you love the Sixers. Subscribe if you love sports. Really, subscribe if you love anything, dude. We got everything on this channel from
Loki tomorrow. Let's go.
I'm so excited for that. Listen, guys, we really do. We got everything on this channel. We just hit 4K subscribers the other day. So if you have followed us already, we really, really appreciate you. Everyone who follows, everyone who subscribes, everyone who likes the videos, it always, always, always helps. We really, really appreciate it. And also, I was looking at our analytics, guys. We only have like 18% of the people that watch these videos subscribe to us. So, guys, if you are not subscribed, subscribe. We know you come and watch. We know you love the content. So please subscribe, like the video. We appreciate you watching. Go Sixers. Sixers in 5? ? I guess we'll see.
I'll say
We shall see. All right. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one. See you at postgame, actually.
Postgame. We'll be there at postgame right when the clock hits 0.
Yes, sir.